Firstly, I'd like to say Tashidele to everyone and thank you for coming.
아니 지난주에 아니 가서 가서 드롤링 해야지 된다 대배도 짜증 부시라지 저샤스 아니 이나야 아니 틴디지 가서로다 닝제다 시럽제야지 랍샤 제토야 틴디 오네시나 아니 나나 가게요 말레스 아니 지난주 상말로 지난주 케야요레 야가 요레스 이나야 다 템데로지는 가랑기 뭉주로지 강 접접 체네 타선남다 슈기스.
So the topic of our discussion here is one of it's like the most important we could ever discuss. But as we are going to, you're asking me to talk about wisdom and compassion, and this is not some kind of advice that I feel able to convey, to confer to you. And I'm sure most of you, everyone here, have more knowledge and more practice than myself. And I don't know much. But as a way to create some kind of dependent arising between us, some kind of auspiciousness between us, I will do my best and with a really pure motivation to try to answer to your question.
아니 진지지 제와 드롤링 해야돼 아니 짜베 중공저데 칸이 중르세나 아니 가서 상물로 동해 만데와 인자 대반되와 인자 아니 추케 레롱 만레롱 잠블링이 상물로 아니 대와 된두녀네 아니 드랍담다만다 롭종담만다 베존담만다 지야데 지제에 아니 가서 랑진지 렌지지 아니 르셈라 대화 고와 인자 동해 무고와 인자 아니 동해 매바세기 탑시당 아니 디 로렌지 랑지 여병안에 아니 대화 용위 탑시 다 직롭종이나다 다만다 아니 제대지 여데리스.
So first let's really try to come back to the source of this discussion, of this topic. Where does it come from, this discussion? I think the main thing that's important to us, to all of us, without exception, is that we do not want to suffer and we are looking for happiness. We want to be happy. And whether we accept a religious system or not, everyone in the world, we are all trying to develop different really various methods in terms of education, in terms of on many different levels. We try to develop all these methods to find happiness and to avoid suffering, because this is like our natural aspiration, physically and mentally, to wish for happiness and to try to avoid suffering.
동해 용위 처바다 대화 용위 처바로 현지 요반디 아니지 주미 찌밀레 중대와즈 마레스 주진 겐들레 중대와즈 마레스 아니 저다 제 망보라 촌에 아니 중대와즈 인두 아니 가서 장조이나다 겐도이나다 상물로 주진라 때네 중원 인장 대인잔데 아니 심장보라야당 시럽라야지 페리아 주진디 아니 당보 장엔져야 돼 예와치니 아니 지 시럽지 당보 알레 배주당네 아니 장엔 간드지난다 아니 지 제와치마 케랜도 말레 레준데 케랜니난다 말레니난다 아니 추케 레난다 말레난다 한들 가서 동해매와지 탑시 지고야 지당 아니 제제제제지 탑시 제네 아니 오늘 주툼비지 아니 대베 탑시 여와이나 대화 용대야 지당 아니 지 주툼빙원에 아니 지 집 동해 민고한데 아니 주툼비 원에 용와인자 아니 디주 젠디 라렌디 케침보인디 아니 가서 류 고슴지 자와 베레지나 가서 상물로라 따와라야 지당 쥐발라야지 아니 양 렌제 로 렌제라 용되게래 대인자네 아니 가지고 심 장부당 라야 대당 아니 심 약보소 라야디 참말로 내가 약보 되도 그래 이나요 민도바 동에 아니 타다 몸에봐 아니 심게 남도 아니 카드장당이지 아니 남도다 레와다 토바 아니 베데 부육수와 나지 용대완디 아니 수수수 딱지 양고체네 냠집 제거야디 당부 개체부들레스
So it is in the nature of our body, physical existence, that we have to experience different sensations of suffering and physical sensations of pleasant sensations. And this is like some kind of natural, we can't help it, just happens. And when we try to look why this happens, well, it doesn't happen without causes, without any reason, just out of the blue like this, without any reason. Everything comes from a cause or a reason. And not only one, but many gathered together. Many causes and conditions have to come together to produce such and such result. So when we talk about like positive phenomenon or negative phenomenon, they all come from a reason or a cause that is in harmonious with their result. So it is important when we are looking for and striving to develop a good mind, wisdom and compassion, well, to be able to distinguish between the causes that create negative results and the causes that create positive results. So it is important to make the difference to be able to make the difference between them. And this has no, it doesn't depend on whether you are a religious person, whether you believe in karma or not. This has, it doesn't matter. So it is important to involve in the different methods every day to cultivate the harmonious causes with what you want to achieve. So if you want to achieve, whether you want to achieve happiness, which is kind of logic, well, you cultivate the concordant causes, and you have to be able to see that the causes, what causes suffering, well, you have to be able to identify the causes of suffering and see that there is a relationship of dependence between them. So the actions we do with our three doors, body, speech, and mind, they all come into this presentation of view and behavior. And this is and naturally, naturally, spontaneously, we all want to be happy. But what we just notice in the world is that we are just afflicted with all these different kinds of suffering that are limitless because of desires and conceptions, doubts. And this is why it is very important to start with analysis and try to analyze why, whether, if we want happiness, why, even if we want happiness, we still always end up in suffering. So start to analyze that first.
아니 제장가저다 장부 연대 아니 소소 심장보당 싫어야보지야라 아니 당보 알레 수수지 류대 아니 자친부인바지 원진 토고야드레스 아니 류딘 디기 남주지 아니 심진 젠트 만달레지 아니 가르소그러다 삼노당 투년당 자와치 친이지 인바인자 아니 미 남주데 아니 이제 할레비지 야고지나 야고지 할레비 야고요지 안 독자지와이나 랑진닝게야 아니 베데다 깨바니 깨바 동해노라 아니 베치 클롱야 된지야 미 아니 르덴 텔레데니 지용그도스 아니 장보 체지 류지라 아니 산지야 이난다 대야 밀리데 ngani chigdos di inzane ani luden dela antene ngaso kosumji ani ji lega inanda phagja inanda ani kulon inanda anzozo kosumi chawadi asususugi tangjin chene ani ji phamaji pugula ani kharjora ta ji rewada ani ichi juwa nangjin ge ji loso jewa nangjin ji sosu semde sosu gi tangjin chene jiade pekeshim rejas sim dawo jemne
So as we want to develop good qualities of wisdom and a good mind, kind mind, we have first to realize the importance of the preciousness and the use of our physical human body that is endowed with very high intelligence compared to other sentient beings, enabling us to think and act based on reflection and intelligence, and this is something that is really precious and useful in terms of striving for good qualities. We can see that even though it's precious and useful in this way, this, on the base of this human body, if we decide or if we let ourselves go in a bad or negative directions, we can also accumulate huge negative potential that would cause us to have to face in the future immeasurable suffering too. On the other hand, if we use this human potential, human basis, well, we can as well achieve enlightenment on this very life, on this very basis of a human body. So what is crucial here is to understand that one has to be very careful and have some kind of self-discipline about all the different actions one does with the three doors, body, speech, and mind that we have, whether we work or whether in terms of motivation, in terms of practice, in terms of everything we do in our daily lives.
Ani sim zoya deda anda rigba zoya de anda di ani ji susugi yaguzi che matuwa ina ani kange shiuzi che deyazi ani ngone tane samno zitane susu sim digi dobala tene ani samno madanga ina anga zu doba kashi ani beti zane madruba tende ani kashi doba di nangjin ji ani zi chakbe yuru mewa ina yencha je ani beti sim korangi ngoyo zindang ani zi Khadro-la maungbala ani susugi jab chödang zhawurzi lo kiya dang Yeshe cheyagi ani rewa jusan zhawudi ani jikbi rangjin medabi rangjin dungabi rangjin jikla korangi ani zi zachenpo zi dang dingkibo zi chewa ina ani nima ji khale ani koran jikbi rangjin da dungabi rangjin yima yinzang koran dindi jikbi rangjin dungabi yangdi yungdu ani sim koran haloya dang soso rangshi je goya re ani ji tamanago ten goya re ani jawazi chamjam ro goya re yamena ji me chokso sezala ani ji Khadro-la da nawa Rangjung banjung sine chapdesa re dindila ani ba ro goya dindi sam dang tang diri cha ro doas di inzani ani sim dige tangbune sim koran desa susugi Yeshe chesadi nonju jigla Yeshe chewa ina kange mabuzi te yongdo gas nonju jen jigla Yeshe machi bachi nonju jen jigla ina ko tachik to nago najang marwas nga so jisu nonge ani zambulingi ji chimbu ji lusemla ani chowa Khadro-la da rakba injang ani kora lu korang ani jisu jila tengoya da togola ani tengoya injang ani 도군 배전치야다 지조지라고 지 배전치네 지 튠제 장조원이야 그래서 튠조네 야부지고야라 와스 이나야 타 찍들 아니 자신일로 배 자고 침불로 근데 땅진일로 학벌들라 nga zoya de za chim shu 제디 논주 침부지 타나 가서 네 nga zoya digi mechi guji chenyen sangma nga zune nondu chimbu zikzi deya zikdi perezina nga zo zupon rawra zina simla zi chena zupu di ane simge anzi khadzoro khangba rawra chadra was ta lu simla tene ane nga zo koryuk zambuling di khangba nawa chadra was zambuling kora nga zo khangba rawra chadra was lu simge longjo se khangba rawra 제자 zambuling chila manuliji lusim phechu cheya rangje lusimla ani chi sungjob cheyagi ani phechu chedang an desudi kharzorda shirabji phechu bete rere shindululu sin sam tangwa zre doas jip sabo sin sam tangwa.
So I'll try my best. We can see that our mind is full of desires and wishes and like dreams that we want to achieve, and sometimes we do achieve these goals and we do get the object we desire, and sometimes we don't, and we get really unhappy and disappointed. And even if we do actually get this object, because the object of our desire is in the nature of impermanence, is in the nature of destruction, in the nature of something that's going to go to waste or to change one day or another, well, we always end up being disappointed and unhappy if we put all our hopes and beliefs in such and such an object. So this is a great cause of suffering and dissatisfaction, and that causes some of us, well, to commit suicide or to try to escape from that place and to go like from one place to another, like escaping every time another problem and try to escape from another place to another place, or to take drugs, or trying to find all kinds of things to entertain oneself, to run away from this problem of dissatisfaction. So it's important to firstly be able to find to see that the object of your trust, or I don't want to say faith because it sounds religious, like the object of your trust or belief has to be a correct one, has something that's not deceiving, because if it's a deceiving one, like some of these objects or activities that will disappoint you in the end, well, you will always end up facing suffering. I'm not saying here that all these objects like food and clothes and work and money, it's all 100% negative and you should not rely on them at all. Of course, in order to live, we need food and clothes and and work and money. And on a short-term and conventional relative level, these things are good, and you can put some kind of trust and believe in and strive for them. What I'm saying is to have too much attachment, too much grasping to these things, grasping them as being permanent, being the object, being mine, my possession forever, and also the grasping at self, me, this grasping at me very strongly, this causes dissatisfaction to come up. So these are great mistakes that one shouldn't do. Usually we tend to feel that our body and mind are like the house for ourself, and the I is kind of inside this. And in the same way, if we extend this, we feel like the whole world is like the house for ourselves, if we extend that point of view. So that's a very good reason, as we want to take care of our body and mind, because we feel the I lives in these two dimensions. Well, in the exact same reason for not harming and caring for the whole world surrounding us. So I think these are things one should reflect on these points, and not only superficially, but really in detail. In detail.
제가 아니 나중에 아니 가져다 텐디게 셈 아니 지 잉대와 아니 제몰라소와다 아니 타마 창라 아니 때몰라소와 디주기 아니 대화제야디 데스데스 류라 서로가 대화제야디 가서 보고 중중라 아니 지리 제비제 대화저우즈레스 들레 닝보 강야 요 말레스 매 상황이 야고즈 산다나 닝보 매와다 통구여리 될레 이나야 텐디지 대화 부글레 지리 제비 대화들라 로 시라 착네 아니 톰도레스 제자 아니 가서 더바디 나지 마주베 쪼데 딘질라 착심 체더리스 더바 가리스나 아니 시랍베 퓨드 중화 아니 잠바데 닝지 로 퓨드 중화 제야진 더바여레스 다딘 더바여바이나 아니 자와디 간데지 제거리 아니 동행 코나 용아 아니 이위레가 아니 더자 셰당 티무 낙심 네심 록다 추이도 계셔 시와이나니 아니 추이 계셔 마시와이나니 아니 랑시 차오 아니 수수 랑시 차오진 나이 아니 가르쳐가 배 직수라이나 레모고이 아니 나준 가야메 아니 나 야구시라이 나 두자지에메 랑랑을 두고 지에마 동하지 아니 텐디게 한달 심디게 아니 나저 더바낭지 마용어디 심 코란 삼노 땅땅 코란 짭주당 코란 너르데도 가스 대인자네 아니 가서 딱시 제와이나 세부시라레스 시럽줘야디 아니 제바치야레 와스 아니 간지 자와 간지 제와이나 아니지 가르쳐라다지 롭종인 자와 리 카리인한다 자글 lonju 카리인한다 한다 대지 푸숨 소바 줘야지 리 카리 제와이나 그 당부 딱시 제네 아니 소소지 작별로 이자지 레버 용나 안 딜라 차진을 때비지 레와당 독바 내기도 하스 파중원에 착병어 찍주네 소소라베테 가슈지 잘라이나다 미이나다 한다 가슈지 용기도 하스 그 디디데 소소기 삼년 놀라 아니 참마 루심 참마 콜라 차줘야지 콜라 신줘야지 콜라 잡줘지 다 오마인 티안줘지 차줘도 하스 디 인자니 아니 티 소소 착과제서 유디 소소 차와 낭진다 가와 낭진 아니 더바 낭진 콜라 창유 말레스 코 간드지와이나 지 뜨주비랑 인지레스 주진라 뜨비랑 인지와 인자 아니 주비랑 인디 추니레스 주비랑 인지 ngo지라 아니 폐체 동외비랑 인 마타비 추도전에 동외비랑 인라와스 대 인자니 아니 당번에 할 말로와 치야디 비키지무레스 지 노주마지야 돼 아니 시샤 남장 타이바지라와스 딱지치 아니 네갑라 아니 대외 된다리도나 타둘라 간제치기도 와 안 수수이게 미친 디잠지나라 삼노 땅데디 잡중 쉬브드레스 데스 삼노 부스토부레스 가인제나 아니 단다 파마지기 부글라이나 부구 가주세요와이나 아니 부구 코랑라 데바 만다 아니 심 만다와 서로 만다와 용기도 가스 디 파마 쿠라 지기 부구 인와이나 이나양 코랑라 삼수 진준다 만다요레스 디 ngaji 레단 제웨 왕기 주진 때니 용대와 지레마도 아니 디지 시디 파메지 자주 주연주 즉 말레스 디 인자네 마음바이 삼노라이나 수수 미치 찍나 삼노 땅 죽준체 아니 야부체야 삼노베 뒤치고지 미치 디나 찍고지 삼노 땅에디 안 수수 부스도고 쉬우즈레스 심조에디 미치 찍고 미치 찍나라 조로야지 리미도 와스 심조에디 가서 상마지 받을라 타다 무미도 가스 안들 심이 남자라 라고나 빼 할레비 딩침보 아니 제와 라고나 제와니 제와 전에 타마다 토마 라마도 바틴지도 와스 디 상말로와 심지 나오자 디나네 용되게 요레스 데 인자네 아니 가주 미치 디지 아니지 소르뱅아니 지도 우니 니수응하냐 고와체 아니 심 코랑이 된토 뭐마디 아니 코라 카르조로 다지 코란라 강엔디 아주 미친 디니 셈다 풍부 카간도기도 와스 디디 아주 지 셈다 류니 냠도 이미서라 지 doctor 이미서라 딜라 빼 진지 쉬우지 제네 야고 쉬우지 제대와이나 아니 타망 아주 풍부되다 셈인데 카체도 갑라 아니 대완 dünya 동에 가르조로 최전 상마 존이지 사회지 박샤져서 즉셈들인도 와스 제장 심디 장보다 녜바 라야디 심간 조조다야르샤스 낭베 추노네르드 시와이나 추 슬랄르데나 딘디기 심데 아니 쭈비 차와 쭈야 가르르세나 동에 용위 차시 차와 아니 치중 남장 가져요와는데 뭐시빙 안에 동해 곡탑지야 대화 저에디 대화 줍답지야지 아니 줍주 유 차시 간지 나 간지 창고위는데 창야지 아니 시럽 배주당 남주 배주당 배주당네 아니 장에 하고빙 안에 장에 이치치네 아니 주바이나 아니 주툼비 대부 차로 그러와스 저 계레나 말레나 가수지 대두기 니주간에 디시 제주드레샤스 아니 저 민다나네 다레 대두기 니주간에 디시 제네 아니 심 자침볼라야다 심 고양보져야다 심 시럽침볼라야다 아니 지 잔주기 심 자침볼라야 디주디 디두기 니주 셰베토네 빵랑 셰베토네 제주드레도와스 다 저게 말레와이나 랑기 류셈이지 아니 동에 디두기 니주 초르뱅 안에 아니 자와치고야 들어왔어 초르뱅 안에 가고야 들어왔어 빵고야 지당 초르바 동해인 초르바 만두와 인자네 동해인 초르에 자주 빵고야 대외 초와 아니 디 가와 인자네 대외 초와라 아니 당들래네 동해인 초와 가고야 들인도왔어 디 인자네 아니 가서 잠블링 사이 콜레디 야부츠 초다 마소줘야디 민 자주라 쪼라렌데도왔어 베레즈나 민 자주 간중반중 제위 젠지 잠블링 코라 셈젠로지나 아니 코페테 갓 네바 슈즈도 와스 네바도즈 디 미지 남주 드라마다 제고 남숨 드라마다체 아니 민 제고 될 때니 중앙추 위젠세네 아니 지 출로 드라마다 용대야다 내암 드라마다 용대야다 아니 딱 슈지 그러와스 초징네 아니 가서 다 디상 야제 시부지 다 차디비 크로와스 치료네 지 차자징징제 아니 지 제고 남순 조금 해야지 튠진 할리부 짜침부지다 여러와스 낭인 셈라 치료지 튠진 뉴로 대점 여와 대시도라 낭인 셈이 강인데 뉴로 지당 하장 신화자부지 레레스
So,
thank you.
Our mind being so attached to things that will end up disappointing us, we end up trying to find satisfaction in all sorts of games, cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, all kinds of entertainment, looking for satisfaction and happiness. Actually, if we take a step behind and try to look at what we're doing, we're not really different from a kid finding pleasure in eating a candy. We can see the candy has no essence, but the child, when he's grasping to getting this candy, he feels very excited and feels like his happiness depends on the candy. And we're just exactly like this. And everyone can see that, it's quite obvious. The problem is we get so attached to these objects and these things that will end up disappointing us. And we put all our hopes and all our attachment and we end up being very confused and lost because of that. So if we are able to find a correct object of desire, which would be the best kind of wisdom, perfect wisdom, love and compassion, well, that would be a correct object of desire, a correct object to long for. Instead of that, we just end up following our delusions, so this kind of religious talk, but we like our attachment, our anger, our jealousy, our pride, our ignorance, our self-grasping. So in some kind of non-religious terms, we would talk about following our feeling of self-importance, feeling like we are the center of the world, and feeling, I don't depend on anyone, I don't need anyone, I'm perfect, I have no flaws. And we kind of take refuge in that. We think this is the real thing, this is correct. Actually, we have totally wrong attitude, and this will end up, this will come back in our face. Sorry. Non, ça suffit. So if we think in terms of, if we only think in terms of, okay, I want these good qualities, but just for this life, just for this very life I'm living right now, well, this is a very short-sighted attitude. This is actually quite the narrow-minded attitude. We can see if we, an easy example is to see how in one family admitting they have 6 children, and we can see each of these 6 children will have a different behavior, different tendencies, different characteristics, etc. So we can see the physical cause of these 6 children is the same. They have the same parents, but they all have different tendencies, different attitudes. So it's quite obvious these tendencies and all this comes from previous habits that they must have developed before. So we can see that there are different existences before, and thinking only of this life and the happiness of only this life is really a narrow-minded attitude. Actually, the mind, well, it doesn't end when we die. Actually, it will go on forever until enlightenment. It will always be there. It has no beginning and no end. So this is, at that point, really comes the presentation of what is mind and etc. So, but this is just a short presentation. The point here is to see that at the end of this life, well, the mind and the aggregates, or the physical aggregates, that we always thought during all our lives that they are one and indivisible, and this is me, who I am. Well, when you die, they separate. The mind goes its own way, and the body, well, goes to waste. It just stays there. And so we have during all our life this very strong grasping of this association of mind and body, and thinking this is me. The problem is what goes on is only your mind, and really this actually the mind that is the basis for all the different imprints and tendencies that you have accumulated throughout your life. So this is what goes to in the future, in the next life. So what really matters, it's whether you've developed a kind mind or a negative mind. When we use religious Buddhist vocabulary, and we in Tibetan we say che, so talking about the Dharma, and what it means, literally, it means to transform or to correct. actually what we're doing, whether we talk about religion or not, it's just common sense. If you want happiness, well, develop the causes that will enable you to find happiness. And if you start doing some research and analysis, you will end up really quickly finding that only the causes and their results have a relationship of harmony, that they have to be concordant. So positive causes have positive results, and negative causes have negative results. And this is not religious talk, it's just obvious. So if you want to find happiness, well, cultivate the positive causes that will enable you to find happiness. And well, if you want to avoid suffering, just try to avoid negative, cultivating negative causes. So when you realize and you have different sensations of unhappiness, pleasant sensations and unpleasant sensations, well, on the basis of this, feeling these sensations, you feel, well, this is what I want to discard. And when you have pleasant feelings, well, you naturally feel this is what I want to develop. I want more of that. So you try to discard, abandon the negative causes causing you what you don't want, and accumulate the positive causes that ripen into things that you wish. And this is just, it does not have really anything to do with religion. We can see in this world, this planet we live in, that it is greatly changed and influenced by the activities of human beings. Animals can't really, they have some impact, but not so much as human beings. We human beings really have a very strong impact to what's going on in the world and how this planet Earth is transforming. And we can see that because of the different activities of human beings doing basically everything wrong, the elements get totally disturbed and unbalanced, and there are many different catastrophes like earthquakes, etc. And it's like, really, we can say this planet is sick now because of the attitudes of the activities of human beings. So of course, from one point of view, you can argue that we have reached a really high level of progress, and we can do things really quickly, and they look things look quite shiny and nice, and we think that we have good conditions from when we think of it superficially. But really, if we look really what's going on, if you look in the mind of the people living on this earth, it seems that we have reached a really disastrous state of being. It seems that there's very strong, it's like degenerate kind of way of thinking. It's quite frightening, actually.
아니 안들 미상부지 지와라 주진 가리조 창국을세나 장부지야지 창국을스 장부 미상부 용야라 아니 장부지국을스 아니 미 장부지야라 아니 시샤연대 망부지 창국을스 아니 지 미지기 된다라 장부지와이나 미라 컴다 메바 나초바여레스 텔레 베비 시샤추 나초바지여레스 아니 딜라 롭존치 고고레스 시럽지 롭존치 아니 시럽지 롭존치니 장부 장부 예와체니 안다지 띵엠바리 디 장부 야고레스 라야지 니시 중와이나 아니 그 종달지 레와이나 아니 미 장부 지와이나 학삼 지와이나 아니 미 장부 용그러와스 디만도 아니 말람저 자지 미 장부 용하쇼 지한다 아니 야지 다발라야 직진직라 잡주네 나미 장보용하쇼 제한다 아니 야직 카르조로다 직 총소기 레가도 지시네 나미 장보용하쇼 제네 젠 차룩드라마저 따와이나 장보차고 말아왔 Jenja Dhamma Tawaina. Tiniji Kangbada, Yoshe Dhamma, Zadon Lonju Dhamma, Yakuzi Chuaina, Mi Zambu Chagmarwas, Kagures, Tazambu Harchegore, Chambuchigo Grace, Chambu di Garchegore, and Sheshe Namra Mambuzi, Shirabji Hakogo Grace, Ngui Nizu Hagone, Ngui Nizu Yeshe Chena, and Ngui Nizu Simnona, Ding Ring to Hagoina, and Dila, Shirab Chembola Grace. Shirab Chembuji Peju Dang to Grace. I shirab Chembo Peju Dang to Waina, and Simnala, Rangzo di Jigimba Dang, Jenzo the Tayimba Imba, Jen la Zevachia Dang, Jen la Chambachia Ladi, why you need to Haku Grace, Haku Grace. The dinner need to Hakoina, and Susu to Dam Kavala Jevaina, Jen la Regoet. Simji Jen Mambo Tsowadang. Jen Mambuzi, and the Chavala Dene, Rang. Jibu Devate, Jen Dene, Jibu Detendoya. Chanju Sim Rimbuche, Zachimu Dijevaina, Jen and Dene, Jayungoroas. And then as a negative tin dije to Tamsum, Samalo, Jen Dene, and the Jayungore. They in Zani, Jen Zoedi, and it's cutting change bingani, cutting chon in a pet Zachimbures. Dindi, shirap di Peju Tang Shivores. Di Mashivaina, Rangchipo Sam Dawanani, Shadang Shukchimbulaya. Rangjung Digi, Jen Tongo Grace. Rangjung Sam Dawaina, Tong Roberts Lega Tone Chevaina, Lobjon Chevaina, Dramashiva Manga Yungres. Kasi there's a Tunjin Zombaina, Kusimna, Majiva, the Donge, Passionance of the Yungres. And then Tamakora, and it's Tone Chambers Jen, Pesha Shoes Yoina, Kusimnala, and it's Jongan Chakun Jubanajin called Gange Bet. 다 콜레 제메 산노즈 레바이나 그 총야고 자 배샤야고 조시야다 민야고 중앙이나 그디 배주데 옌지 지부용야 옌 대부용야지 로봇이도 그래스 그 죽주 양자를 죽준식 치도 그래스 옌지 류셈라 류 자와라 강엔티야라 류셈지 자와 간딜라 베니 죽준지나 치토야지 차 그래스 펜도치야 대이나 Dindi Chungaina and Suzu, Shigalamo, Chibuchina, Lo Devanganda, and Jig, Machigola, and in Chawazang put someone lower, and in Khadro-la, Cheva in Tianda. Chuki Lenizina, and G, issue that is in Adanga Kunju Niaji, Kunjuja, Tarvi Langalanga, and Dang Madan Tesome, Hines and Angaji, Chawayawashi, and Lo Devoyores. Da and Nangbe Chawaina, the Chukajaina, Dange. 마음발라 아니지 타르바다 탐지 쳔베지 공방 드립 투야지 디루 밀리 짜지 몰래야다 류대 야고즈 레야지 아니 이 박샤 야고스 하자유 아니지 주도그 마서 다다지 뜨야 요레스 주 싸죠지 리부 고마지 아니 수수 삼노네 요레스 디메나 아니 시갈라모 지그라 코나 아니 시고와이나 아니 마게셀라 게모 게보 마레셀라 마샤셀라 아 수수 또 땀도 레도 짜잔 신이 drone 들리지 아니 티세지 강엔tillu 아니 옌라 당심로 주침볼라 차도 아니 주충중라 튜브다야 랑이 옌바요나 튜브다야 랑냥바요나 진들체야 아니 부글라 이치메와 아니 춤바 침제라 이치메와 아니 수수 오네 제나 수수 집어 로즈라네 아니 타마마 게모 게보차돌 아니 시국제 아니지 니마 쳐야지 뒤주 쳐야지 자와지 칼라 탑시 제될 모두 대점마도 매와 차레스 데리 차와이나 둘러려 두고 차레스 다르까블라 디고모 보체로 타 타마올라 잡던 그 뽕니 찌매와 차레스 대인자는 디즈디 시럽서에 대 배주 제 마토바치 미장보 수수주 마토바레스 미장보
So, if you want to develop a kind mind, well, the basis the basis of that is to be honest, to cultivate honesty. And the basis of honesty is to have a great extensive knowledge in as many fields as possible. and cultivate this wisdom of knowing and this knowledge of knowing as many things as possible. Why is that? Is because if you want to relate in a kind way, in a good way, with many different kinds of human beings or sentient beings, where they all have different habits, different tendency, different likings, dislikings. So you have to be able to adapt in that way, and that's why your honesty in the way you want to give advice and help them to develop the qualities you mentioned, well, this needs to be based in studies or developing this kind of knowledge to be able to adapt oneself to everyone's tendencies. So this is a real job, something one has to do oneself. One doesn't become kind and transform one's mind into a kind mind by doing prayers like, oh, please, may I become a very kind person, may my mind become kind somehow. This doesn't work. Or even you take refuge in some kind of god or whatever, and you say, oh, please make me kind, and this doesn't work either. By being a very good businessman, it doesn't make you kinder. Wearing all kinds of jewels, trying to look as pretty as possible doesn't make you kinder. Even if you have a very pretty house, huge house, beautiful, very luxurious, this doesn't make you kinder either. Even if you have the best food on earth, this doesn't make you kinder either. The best way and the starting point to develop a kind mind is try to be as honest as possible. And this is based on wisdom understanding the reality of things, how things exist and how they function. You can develop this kind of wisdom and knowledge so you can start with some kind of superficial understanding and growing into a more and more profound wisdom and understanding until you reach what we call some kind of great wisdom, the greatest wisdom, understanding the real state of how things exist. And this is the wisdom that is a basis or foundation for developing a kind mind. When you grow this kind mind based on this understanding, you will be able to understand how yourself depends on others, and the way your love and compassion grow very naturally and based on this understanding, and they have a very firm basis. So when we talk of the very most precious mind of bodhicitta, mind of enlightenment, this is based on understanding how oneself depends on others and the interaction between these two. We can see, for example, how even our food just comes from so many different sentient beings, other living beings. Our food just depends on all these different beings, so that based on this understanding, well, we can grow this mind of bodhicitta bigger and bigger. So cultivating this kind of attitude, we will be able to develop a really great, true kindness based on the recognition that all sentient beings are so precious. Well, if we don't do that, and we think only of ourselves, we will have, on the other hand, well, the opposite result will happen. We will be very easily angry, very strongly angry, and whatever activities we will try to engage in, we will only find problems and many obstacles. And even if we reach some kind of success, we will never be happy inside. Outside, we can look like a very good businessman, we have money and everything, but if you look inside, the mind is like, actually, you feel so unhappy, you feel so many problems, dissatisfaction. You're like in a prison, even if outside you look kind of successful. So there is no real success to be achieved with this attitude of thinking of only of oneself. On the other hand, someone who thinks only of others, try to benefit others as much as they can, well, if they are successful, externally, this is not a bad thing. This is great, and they can make very good business, make a lot of money, and they can kind of reinvest this money and this success only for the benefit of others, and this becomes like the opposite of a vicious circle. This only grows into more and more benefit for other people, other living beings. And if you practice like this, well, at death, there's nothing to regret, and you can only feel happy and satisfied by the kind of way of life you've been living. You can think, all I did the best I could, I did the most positive actions I could do, and if you're a religious person, whether you're Christian or Muslim or whatever, well, you can think the higher being you believe in will be pleased with you and accept you in heaven or whatever. And if you're a Buddhist, also you can think, I've lived my life in the most positive way. Now I've done a step. I'm one step closer to liberation from samsara and enlightenment. I have accumulated many tendencies, seeds that will ripen in the future, so I can get a precious human rebirth that will allow me to continue to progress on the path towards enlightenment and liberation and enlightenment. So this way of life and this thinking is always based on the understanding that the causes and the results are linked, dependent on one another in some kind of concordant or harmonious relationship. If you live your life being guided by attachment and doubt and attachment to food and reputation and clothes, etc., you will live every day of your life looking at people having a better situation than yourself with envy, with jealousy. We will look at people that have less quality or less status than yourself with disdain, and the people who are kind of on the same level in society or have kind of the same level of qualities. You will always have this competitive attitude, wanting to be slightly better than them. And this attitude will lead you to every day of your life accumulating a great amount of negativity or negative karma or negative actions. And then, well, at the end of your life, when you get old and you try to, you see death coming and getting closer, you will be unable to trust your neighbors, your family will leave you alone, no one will try to help you, and you will have to die all alone. And the only thing, well, while you're waiting, you're waiting for death, well, you just end up wasting your time trying to make time go quicker, because you have nothing interesting to do. So really, leading such a way of life is worse than behaving like an animal. So remember that at the basis of a kind mind and a healthy way of life is wisdom. And remember that one's mind is one's own responsibility. Other people cannot wash your mind or clean your mind. You have to do it yourself.
아니, 다 한다 가서 몇 상만올라 아니 괜찮부 쉬어져요레스. 아니 수수 아니 베데 동에게 카르로 나데위 아니 뉴몬 tuksungi 아니 독이 제데와기 안더 심 마룽에 바지 아니 주주다야 예 겐지게레스 심 마룽에 바 독자지 주주다야 겐지게레스 소소 디 마지 디 아니 심 디데니 류디 초사기 데 점블링 아니 사이 콜레디 아니 카르조로다 지 초야라 아니 가서 미지 지소랑 겐치무 쉬어요레스 아니 셈젠 상말로 대화 주야라 수순 겐 여비 차니 라렌 따야디 케지무리 딩도스 겐 여비 차니 라렌 따야디 페레즈나 준제 조조르지나 다 마음반 점블링데 칸드지 다 베테 카르조로 시나자고 카르차 미자서 몸부지 아주 미지 제고 남수는 때네 점블링 시나자고 차도레스 아니 디 다 준제 저기 점블링 찔라 삼다야 안 수수수 롭종 제와이나 수수 미리기 신고 제야당 아니지 롱바이 대전 신고 제야다 줄루기 대전 신고 라야디 아니 뒤쪽 슈즈레스 뒤점지 제대바이나 아니 샘제 참말로 디칼라 속된 여도주 참마 대화 되기로 왔어 동에 되기 말아 왔어 대수 동에 용야 체들라 아니 고육 숭조레 되니 자가 편주 숭접 제야 베르즈나 봄 드라마다 저기도 왔어 수수 삼년노라 삼모디 비 충주 쇼레도 왔어 가인선은 수수 작업디 짜진보 용야당 작업디 에너지 가르도르다지 지 왕당 진보 용야 체들라 아니 봄시나 사오 지리존에 파슈 작업 매워서 삼당이도 왔어 디 수수 디지 요와이나 파슈디 시디 쭈구레마도 파슈데라 내지 지와이나 파슈디 나미야 아니 수술라 다 징기로 왔어 디 마제 내지 제사디 가서 강바 더고 마스나 강바 찌레드레스 강베지 추찌글라 아니 또식 제 용거였나 수수 강바디 수수지 아니 가르조르다지 미릭당 수수 류셈라 레바 연주지 잠블링디 통자 첨부지 삼 당고기도 쟁도스 나란 삼지라 아니 자베지 수수수 미릭다 출룩다 아니 지지지 라야데 여다 여기래데 이나양 초 참말로 니추추 동바이나 아니 대완 죽준 지야들이 놓았어 대완 되바지다 동에 만되바디 참마 초 참마 찍으래 놓았어 내 인잔다 롭종란 라면 나서 요래 연된 라면 나서 요래데 뽕 직사디 대화 용화 체도 용도 왔어 대화 토야 체들 동에 토야 체들 내 인잔에 심장보 라야디 자첨부 니추 슉첨부 마통아이나 심정보 용양 가보시라로 왔어. 자첨보 숙제만 내주 통화이나 뭐 내주기 미정보 미창보 미야보 준보 차기도 왔어. 니 추억해 내나 말해나 한들 미지 그 조단지리스 미라 그거 들으셨을 미당 심진 라야 되라 서로 봐요 심진라 그거 이마 인장 참말로 따종지야디 다 미일래 바디지 배주 동양 약수들이 챙도스.
So I think every one of us is really has a great responsibility. Each of us, as we see that all living beings, and particularly in this planet, on this earth, are afflicted by the three main poison, like the main delusions of attachment, anger, and ignorance, because all this suffering is afflicting us because we are not, because of having untamed mind, and to change that and to correct that is our responsibility, and this is a very heavy one. We can see, if we take a look at the state of the world, the planet Earth today, is our responsibility to all of us to preserve it and to actually put into practice all the beautiful talks, actually do it, to walk the talk. This is our responsibility. We can see that the state of the world today is quite frightening and actually very scary, and this is all due to our activities, what we have done so far, the humankind. It is very important to try to see things from a broader perspective and not to see one's own little country, or to have some kind of patriotic attitude and think, kind of make distinctions between my country, your country, or my religion, your religion, or my race, etc. Because really, we all want to be happy, and we all want to avoid suffering. We're just the same, basically. So whether it comes down to ecology or other things in which we try to preserve the world. We talk a lot about security in the world these days, and like we can see terrorist activities, people making very huge bombs able to kill many people, and this really it is very stupid and silly, and this is just because of the clinging and grasping to my own little country where I belong, this really narrow-minded attitude wanting to blow up the country and the people next door because they're different or to be more powerful. The result of that is, well, what happens? Well, the neighboring countries, which we try to blow up, will become our enemy. It's like this comes from very short-sighted attitude. It's like we all live in one house, and we are on one side of the wall, and these guys, well, live on the other side of the wall, but of the same house, and we want to blow up their wall. What happens? The roof just falls off on our heads, of all of us. So we just end up destroying ourselves. So it is important to have a very broader, universal attitude and point of view, and not cling to my race, my people, my tradition, or my religion. Of course, there are different races, different religions, different habits, different countries. This is we are not trying to negate that, but what I am saying is that fundamentally we are all the same, and whatever we do in our life, whatever studies we get engaged in, whatever actions, whatever activities, work we are doing, we all do everything just to be happy. So it is important to try to develop a kind mind based on the understanding of the true way things exist and relate with one another, and try to have really always see the bigger picture. And this is not a matter of being religious or not. It has nothing to do with that, because I think everyone and each of us needs to have this kind of attitude, broad-minded attitude. And I think try to cultivate this attitude is the best way we can use our brains.
아니 너나 아니 가서 상말로와 한달 주약슈 아니 자 체슈디 아니 심상부 체야드레스 안 디게 가뒤나 수술라 펜토 그래 가뒤나 아니 수수 가와라지나 펜토 그래스 아니 랑진 상말로라 펜토 그래스 안 디게 가뒤나 딜라 이치체네 심상부 체야라 이치체네 베르전체네 심상부 땅와이나 아니 오늘 전에 아니지 내가 이제 대대한 뒤로 그래서 탈두기 대대한 뒤로 그래서 갈래갈래가 자체를 땅와이나 근데 생성부터에 삐케지 뭐래도 아니지 수수 지고 대와이나 지고요레스 아니지 초가당 부고당 침상나라 같이 미셔당 잡고 요와이나 같이 짜마시와 요와이나 랑 심상부터 요와이나 디기 초도 그래서 디 대진 준비해도 그래서 제장 점블링디 nyokra tsangmalo ani nga zo yongya di sim zangbo meba yinzang sim zangbo mebe je ani phungne sim ngembe chawa mambo zige ani nga zo nyokra la yong dwas me tsangma sim zangbo yo na nga zo be chibisin de ngone yores jin chibiche zon changra dung tada de chibiche ya di chibdi batte gogores sim ngemba tamandi tamante chawa cheze di za de la ani ko Khadro 지금 유럽한테네 대외 처럼 때서 여와이나 안디 바예네 안 수수쌤 gem바데 대가란 대요레스 심장부 갈래 제불로 와이나 아니 미장부 쉬우자 그래 디긴 제부 치말라야 그래 단다야 그래스 아니 안 대가이스 안게 야만 잘하는 저런 굽디나 그래스
So, in brief, to conclude, cultivating a kind mind really is the best thing we could ever do. The best thing and the most important, the most precious thing we could ever dedicate ourselves to. And this is something that will always benefit ourselves and others at any time, wherever we are, and to all sentient beings that come close to us. And if we put effort in developing a kind mind, striving in that, and putting our hopes and trust in this developing a kind mind, a good mind, then this will give us results in the short term and also in the long term as we grow and become our qualities become more and more stable. And this is the most important thing we could ever do. The first person to benefit is oneself. We become very happy ourselves and satisfied, and this extends well to our family, our husband, our kids, our partners, the people we meet regularly. They benefit from that. And even if we have to face problems and difficult things, having this attitude of having a kind mind, this kind attitude, will always help us to overcome whatever problem we will have to face. And we can see that the actual situation of this world is so disastrous now because it comes from lacking a kind mind. It comes from a lack of kindness. And because of this lack of kindness, well, people involved in negative actions, and now the world has become very frightening and unhappy place. Imagine 1 second, if all of us would have a kind mind, the world would be such a happy place. Everyone would be so satisfied and happy. But not striving to cultivate a kind mind and instead to find happiness, instead of that, trying to find happiness by smoking, drinking, trying to entertain oneself in all kinds of ways. Well, this is really self-deceiving, and we maybe we might be happy very short, maybe some minutes or during some hours, but then when the effect is gone, well, we are just back on at the same state that we were before. And well, basically that's all I have to say today. I think I don't want to talk much longer because you might have some pain in your bottoms.
Ani chozo dela dedan zöbeje ani zambuling nala ani japchi sobru muchen da lama ji konamni kanri ji konamni ji ani ji lapsha dang zugjula bene zambuling nala ngone chu tarjap chimbu shuje hallebi zachimu shu chungweris chu ke lena da nangju ke lenye da maleni samalola ani rang ji dede jubyagi ani lapsha zachimu shu jawyurwas dizude ngazugi 디봉 게줍 강 누누 추주주 마인반 디체톰나 야우로와스 nga줄 오늘 전에기 다 잠블린 티나라 지 산진지 추 라바이나다 지지 카르조라 게게 아니 지찬 잠블린이지 아니 셈진 상말로라 대전 주변지 저와 도지장 산진 아니 고샬런바 산진 니바다우지 아니 저와 도지장 정구인지 노부 페웨로와스 아니 디제 숭주 ri ani panglang gi ne ani sungju la su su khang tu tu jar thuya ta khang tu tu nyen thuya ti ji yi khogap chungwai na ani su 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 one tane de de saba ani kharjoro ta ji tseleng ge ba je de de thuya tang ani tseleng ge ba zog mara ta ji khang min je ta ji hal le bi je ta nyega 아니 된치와라야 저 차들어 니가 왔더니 신든 제가 온다고서 대인자네 아니 로송다야니 여레 아니 주부 당당 여세데라 아니 랍샤자 쳔부티즈데 아니 냠시지야 로야다 냠시지야디 안 수수조기 마노르웨기 내가즈리스 대인자네 아니 수수조 강투두게 아니 달랍샤니야리데 지 카르조로 다 저 도지장 아니 ngösu nga zo yenji ya da songdo ya ani tedo te jejen tamba samjimi jawa yorwas ani tezo ngone ji yenji songdo kalop tezo nyo langdor gi ne mungdewa de ba ani ji karjor ba chen ani mishi chubri tingla lingdo ba chewa nangjin je nga zo sem yigange se tugres ani chiranzo tiring ani mongba ngada udawji ani tawala ji karjorda 지 lecture zo goshana ngakchar la goshana da andar keshashi ngakchar ani nyuro chen tindisi karjor nyala ani ngatbe gaoshira 중 투제나스 ngara pepe 부모 탑자 jeans 춘직된 가연 시기메스 지 자치무들이 이나야다 타직도 아니 정부 인진으로 아니 너무 도시창 이제 좋은 거랑 송주야양니 아니 들리지니 지랑도 네 강투두지 수수 배전 제가 지기스 이나양 지랑도 드린 데 자와치시 깔레 카시 아니 도알레샤니야 도치체나스
So we are now in a Dharma center that was founded by Lama Yeshe and Lama Rinpoche. And these two great beings really doing all their life, and they still do it, give great advice, and were one of the main people to really spread the Dharma to the whole world and to everyone. Religious people and people who are not Buddhist or not believing in any religion. So they really gave great advice on how to practice, how to develop a kind mind, and their teachings and advice, well, you should listen to them as much as possible and try to implement them as much as you can. And they really are people who really uphold the Buddha Dharma and spread the Buddha Dharma to the whole world. And in general, even not talking about the religion, well, they did, and they are still doing, great benefit to the whole world, all sentient beings, all living beings in the world. And now, also, we recently had the great opportunity to meet great Vajradhara, which is like after Buddha Shakyamuni, like a second Buddha who comes on this earth, displaying the aspect of a human person, really comes directly in front of us to give us teachings on what to discard and what to adopt, as what behaviors to discard, what behaviors to adopt. And this is such a great, amazing opportunity to receive that, and it's really important to listen again and again to this advice and to really apply it to one's own mind, to one's own life, to one's own behavior. And this is the best goal we can strive, and the best and the most profound thing we could ever do, the best thing we could wish for. And this is something like it doesn't even have a measure. It's beyond something we cannot even understand. How precious and how extremely rare this wonderful opportunity that we have, how it is rare. This is something that we cannot even start to understand. So try, while you are wealthy and healthy, and well, when you can, when you are able to, try to reflect and try to engage in this correct and right attitude and right practice. Do your best as much as possible to listen and put into practice this wonderful, unbelievable advice that were given by the victorious Vajradhara in person in front of you, who is able to dispel ignorance, the ignorance of your mind, just like taking blindfold from your eyes. This is the way he can dispel ignorance of your mind. So this is really precious. So I am just like a stupid person myself. I don't really know anything. I'm just chit-chatting with you. Sorry. And I was really happy. So I'm just an ordinary Tibetan girl. Sorry. So I don't know much about anything. I'm just this regular Tibetan girl. But I had the chance to receive many teachings from His Holiness. And I do my best to implement them. So today is very hard, and it's very hard for everyone to sit here, so I want to thank everyone to attend this discussion session. Thank you.
Thank you.